COVID-19 was something that we didn't know much about at the start of this a year ago.
COVID's taken a huge emotional toll on all of us. It's really been hard. A bunch of us got sick. I got sick.
Trauma has the golden hour in time-sensitive care, but trauma doesn't stand alone.
We were more than willing and ready to participate in this new illness and critical care.
I knew as a candidate, being 50, African American, diabetic, I checked all the boxes, but I never thought I would get it.
So initially, the kind of fatigue and constantly feeling out of it.
I don't remember having a fever. The only thing I had was the cough. And then eventually the cough led to the inability to breathe, and then the diarrhea.
I said, I'll give you one more day, and if you don't look or feel any better by the end of the weekend, we're making an appointment on Monday.
I went to Pimlico, got the test, and then immediately I went over to GBMC.
By the time I came back from the parking lot, they were like, he's admitted. You can't see him. He's already in the COVID unit.
GBMC called and they told us about their patient. They'd reached the limit of their means to continue to take care of Mr. Davis.
He was acutely ill and rapidly worsening.
As early as Darnell was here, a lot of it we were making up as we went along. Making it up with a lot of scientific fact behind it.
None of us kind of knew the gravity of his situation. So I'm glad that he was where he was and he got here in the time that he did.
Shortly after arriving at shock trauma, he was cannulated for VV ECMO. ECMO is extracorporeal membrane oxygenation.
Oxygen is no longer able to enter the body through the lungs at all. And so that's really what the ECMO does. It lets that gas exchange happen in the blood through an external filter.
I was an acute care nurse for him during his stay with us on the biocontainment unit. It was very touch and go for a while.
While anyone's on ECMO, they're on very high doses of blood thinners. And a normal tube that is placed as a routine part of ICU care led to bleeding, requiring large doses of blood transfusions.
I had never seen someone be given an MTE before, which is a massive blood transfusion, and I was scared.
I was thinking funeral arrangements, making sure that everything is okay. Let me get things in order.
We were double bunking ICU patients, which is not something that we'd had to do before. We would have an ECMO patient and a non-ECMO patient in every room. That was putting tremendous strain on the nursing staff who were heroes through all of this.
At some point, every major organ failed. Kidneys, heart, lungs.
Another of the problems Darnell had was acute renal failure. He had to be placed on an additional machine to filter his blood and replace his kidneys.
Darnell's care involved an incredible number of people, all of whom really were essential.
One of the hardest things about the pandemic that is still true are the limitations we've had to put on family interactions.
Phone calls, no in-person visits. I would get daily updates. At one point, we did do a Zoom. I asked the nurse at one point, is he still in there? Is he? And she said, yes, he won't be able to respond, but he can hear you.
It was very difficult, but we really wanted to make sure that we facilitated some interaction between the patient and the family.
He was on ECMO for about 17 days.
ECMO was a lifesaver for him.
As Darnell improved, you could see that we're going down and down and down on his care, whether it would be ECMO support or ventilatory respiratory support.
He came from the multi-trauma intensive care unit after he no longer needed ECMO, but he was still on the ventilator. He still needed a lot of support in terms of feeding, in terms of blood pressure.
Hopeful about his case is that he was starting to wake up and be able to participate in his care, and I think that that helped him improve.
Darnell just must have had something else inside of him that really kicked in and pushed along his recovery.
We needed a win, and he was one of those early success stories that said, hey, we're doing the right thing, who indicated that patients could bounce back from this.
Just so happened I was walking into work when he was rolling out of the hospital to go home. Those are the times that we celebrate.
This is hallowed ground. Like, there's people in here right now that are fighting for their lives. I just feel blessed that I was in a situation where I was with a crew of doctors, a team of doctors and nurses who were awesome.
And everyone who played a part in that, I believe he's living for them now.
Within a month, I believe, I was walking around my neighborhood. And now I'm up to 4 miles a day. I'm a miracle child. And I want to fulfill that. I'm here for a reason. I'm sorry. Yeah. Told you, don't make me cry.